Hello and welcome to A Cup of Grace and Lori. My name is Grace.
And I'm Lori. And today we're going to be talking about how to avoid feeling angry. And I wanted to talk about this because it occurred to me in the last few weeks that there were a few things I was getting mildly angry about, not terribly angry because I'm pretty blissed out these days, but
Okay.
just mildly perturbed or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, wait a second. I'm feeling angry because I think the person has done something intentionally to annoy me.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Mm-hmm.
I've already decided that they've personalized this experience just for me, right? When in fact, they are probably just doing something that they feel is the right thing for them or is a good thing for them. And it has nothing to do with me, you know. But I've interpreted it that, oh, it's something that they've intentionally done against me, and therefore
Mm-hmm.
I, get angry about it. So I realized that no, we don't know others' motivations, but people are generally trying to do what they think is right for
In the
them
moment. In the
in the
moment.
moment,
Mm-hmm.
right? And sometimes, you forget about other people, and then they get annoyed because they think that you've done something intentionally against them. I'll give you an example, and this is me. I did this. It's just a small example, but I was in the grocery store, and I always check my bill after I have paid before I
Yeah.
leave the store, right?
Yeah.
I check that I haven't been overcharged or whatever. So I pull out my bill and I'm checking it. But meantime, I'm blocking everybody behind me. And I didn't mean to do that.
Oh, okay.
But
So you didn't leave the line. You stayed in the
oh no,
line while you were checking?
no. I got on the line, I paid, I got on the line, and I was wheeling my cart out there's a long there's a hall and then there's the exit. So I stopped right in the middle of the hall and I'm reading my
Okay.
receipt.
So
And
you're in
then
the traffic.
I was blocking traffic. I
Mm-hmm.
had no intention of
Yeah.
doing that. I was just checking my receipt. And two people behind me said, excuse me, you're blocking us. This isn't a good place to stop.
Yeah.
And I said, it isn't a good place to stop, is it? I
Yeah.
said, sorry, it's not a
Yeah.
good place to stop, is it? And I
Mm-hmm.
realized, you know, and they were annoyed, actually justifiably, but it wasn't something I did intentionally against them. It wasn't something
Yeah.
I did intentionally against anybody. I was just,
Mm-hmm.
let me check my receipt because I don't want to get to the car and then I find out, they've
Yeah.
overcharged me, whatever. I
Yeah.
wasn't even thinking about other people. And actually, I'm normally not that. I'm usually a little more conscious of other people around me. So this isn't typical for me, but I did do it. And I thought, yeah, I'm sure they thought I was a, what, for blocking the aisle or whatever. But so it kind of it was a mirror for me that, what, I didn't do this with an intention of blocking people. I just wanted to check my bill.
Yeah.
But
You were in your own
I
world.
was in my own world, too much in my own world, I guess. And yet, they got annoyed at me, as I said, justifiably. But I think when you start to unravel it and say, wait a minute, are they really doing it to annoy me? Or is there some other reason? And that's another thing. There could be, and there, I would say probably 90% or 95% of the time, there's another reason why they're doing something. And we don't know what the reason is. And then when you find out, if you're lucky to find out, you think, well, that's perfectly logical, why they did that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and you think, oh, I understand that. Now I understand why they did that. It's nothing to do with me. There was some other reason why they've done something. And I just somehow got in the way of it, but it wasn't directed at me, you
It's
know?
not personal. It
It's
wasn't
not
personal.
personal. And yeah, so when you understand, because first of all, if you understand your own, when, if people get annoyed at you and then you understand and you feel it's unfair, right? Have you ever had that feeling where you feel, oh, they're annoying me, but it's unfair because I wasn't, my intentions were good and I didn't mean to do this or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's the
Mm-hmm.
same thing. It's you just reverse it for the other person and say, well, wait a minute. They might have just had, like me, had a momentary lapse of awareness, or they were just thinking, okay, this is the best thing for me to do, but they didn't maybe think of other people. It doesn't mean that they intentionally tried to annoy you or screw up your life or whatever. You know what I mean? And I think if we can nip our anger in the bud and say, because sometimes it's just a response, we get angry, right? So we
Mhm.
sometimes
React.
control that. Well, you can control your reaction. Your feeling of anger that you might not be able to control, but you can at least say, okay, wait a sec, and you can rein it in and say, wait a minute, there could be a valid reason why they've done this, and if it's someone close to you, you can ask them. You can ask them, not in an angry way, but you could ask them, just wondering why you decided to do that or whatever, and truly listen to the answer. Don't judge it. Listen to the answer. You probably are going to find out that it's their reasoning or their rationale was nothing to do with what you thought it was. So can you relate to any of that, Grace?
What you say about how when someone gets angry at you and you tend to take things personally. In general, this is what we tend to do as
We
people.
do.
We
Yes.
tend to take things personally because
Right.
we only view the world through our own perspective, through our
Right.
own experiences,
Right.
right? So
Right.
we are the center of our universe, our own
Yes, we
universes.
are.
Okay,
Yes,
we
we
are. We
are.
are self-absorbed. We are
Yes.
self-centered, and I don't
Yes.
necessarily mean that in a derogatory way, but
Okay.
that's just how whose other perspective
Right.
can, do
Can we
we
have?
know?
True.
Yes, it's
Only our
only
own.
and so we're in this our own bubbles, regardless of how self-aware we think we are and how
Mhm.
conscientious we are human, and we're
Mhm.
gonna have we're gonna have lapses. And also, yeah, even when we have good intentions,
Mhm.
when we don't intend to anger anyone, upset anyone, rub anyone the wrong way,
Mhm. Mhm.
people can
Yes. Yes.
misinterpret you. So
Yes.
these are things that are out of our control.
Yeah.
We tend to take things personally, but
Mhm.
and it's because of just mere psychology, human psychology, because like
We're
we're
living in our
self-centered.
own
Okay,
we're living in
exactly.
our own experience. Yeah.
Exactly. So we think everything is about us.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
uh, but it's not. So that's kind of like a wake up call to our egos.
Yeah.
And that's one of the principles, actually, or agreements, that is discussed in a very popular self-improvement book called The Four Agreements. One of his principles in that book is,
Mhm.
don't take things personally. And when we're so stuck in our ego minds, it's really hard not to take things personally, because we think everything is about us, and it's
Yeah.
not. Okay, we're not the
Yeah.
only people in this world.
Yeah.
And people, they're going to interpret things differently. There are billions of people in this world.
Mhm.
We don't think the same. We don't
Mhm.
interpret things the same way. We don't,
Mhm.
right, process things the same way,
Mhm.
right? Different perspectives.
Yes. But I think it's also, just to take it a step further, I think that when we attribute that there's a negative motivation on the other person's part, that's where we get angry. We think that they've intentionally been negative, and that's when we get angry, right? But they may not have intentionally been negative. They might have just, as I said, they thought they were doing the right thing at that moment, and it affected others, but they didn't realize it, and they didn't intend to annoy or hurt anyone else. When you find that out, I think your own anger can dissipate. You can get rid of your own anger when you understand that, oh, they actually, and they might have actually even thought of you. And they might have even had you in mind, but they thought this was the right decision instead of something else, which makes it even more easier to just overlook or get rid of your anger, because I think the anger comes from thinking that they've intentionally done this to you. And when you find out, oh no, they actually didn't, it wasn't intentional, they actually, maybe they even had your best interests at heart, but they chose the decision they made because of a lack of communication, right? Assuming that the other person would like this instead of that. It usually boils down to a lack of communication, these issues, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes we assume someone else wants this, so we say, oh, we'll do this because I bet they would like this, and it turns out they don't want that, and you're like, you're oh wow, I'm surprised, I thought they would like this, right? And then they get angry because you did something that you thought they would like, but they didn't like it, but then you never did ask them in the first place whether they would like this. So I think the root of all of this one issue is a lack of communication. But bottom line is that I think, if we can get rid of, if we can be aware, I guess we're never going to get rid of it, because as you say, we're living our one experience from this perspective. But if we can, when we feel that anger starting to rise up, if we can nip it in the bud and say, wait a second, do I have all the facts here? Do I know for sure that they're doing this intentionally to me? Or is it possible there's another reason that they're acting this way? And if you can exert that type of control over your emotions
And maturity.
I think you're going to find that, like, as I said, 90% of the times, it's not what you think. It isn't what you think. And then, you can, I don't know, it just gives you a much more positive outlook towards people, towards life. If you can live that way without feeling that, oh no, people are, out to get me, or not that I don't feel that way, but, not having a chip on your shoulder, or feeling that, oh yeah, people are trying to hurt me, or I think it just gives you a more positive frame of mind. Do you agree?
Absolutely. But really, how many people are that mature in the heat of the moment?
I'm not saying that it's not gonna take some work. For sure, it's gonna take work. But I think the results are worth it.
Mm-hmm.
They're worth it because you can really change your mindset. And when you're feeling more positive about life and about people, then more positive things happen to you. That's just the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
So
Giving
yeah,
people the benefit of the doubt.
giving people the benefit of the doubt. And now there's going to be the, the odd time that maybe they don't deserve the benefit of the doubt. But if you can give, the rest of the people the benefit of the doubt, you might find that actually what they were doing is not what you thought, or what they were thinking is not what you thought at all. And this saves you all this this anger is not productive. Feeling angry
Nope.
is not productive. It just puts a real dagger in your creativity, in your, in your mood, in what you're attracting to yourself.
Well, it's a low vibrating emotion.
A low vibrating emotion, right? So we we don't want to be feeling that. Yeah, you're right. It is going to take work.
Depends on the individuals involved. Are they willing to put in the work? Are they willing to put in the work of improving their communication skills? Because like you said, it requires good communication skills, right? But it's like, I'm just imagining a scenario where, it's the heat of the moment, and, when you're angry, sometimes you just lash out without thinking, right?
Well, you know what though? A lot of people say that, oh, I just lashed out or whatever. But you know what?
Because they're triggered. They're triggered by something, and then they could lash out. So they were already boiling inside in silence, and then something triggers them, and then they lash out.
If they're already almost at the boiling point inside, then for sure. But I guess I'm saying, try not to get to that state inside. Whatever you have to do, try not to get to almost boiling point within yourself. If you've got all that anger building up, then there's things you need to do to get rid of it. Right?
Whether there's some inner work that needs to be done there,
or probably some therapy. So I'm going to assume that you're not at the boiling point where you're just going to lash out at anybody. I'm going to assume that.
Well, one thing, a point that I want to make about anger is that oftentimes when someone is angry, and when we lash out at someone, or when we express our anger because we're triggered by something, oftentimes, whatever that triggering thing is,
incident,
whether it's a remark or I don't know, some kind of a circumstance, the anger is really not about that specific thing.
Oh no, I know. I realize
it's basically, you're just angry. It's not really about that actual thing that triggered you.
It's a past experience.
You were actually angry even before that triggering incident.
And you attracted that.
So that it was just, it triggered you, and then your anger that was already existing inside of you. Was expressed.
Yes, exactly.
So that's why it's another reason why we shouldn't take things personally, because actually what we think that a person is upset about, it's really not that specific thing. It's just that, well, you're just upset. You're upset. Something's hurting you.
Something you said or did trigger them. Yeah,
that's
exactly. Right. But that's not what they're really upset about. There's something, a root issue from could be years ago. Yeah,
exactly. So again, like you said, understanding human behavior, human psychology, that would also help us in being more compassionate and understanding in those situations towards ourselves and others.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree. So it's something that I'm, as I said, I became aware of in the past few weeks, and I'm working on it. I'm trying to, just be more aware of my emotions and interpreting other people's actions. Sometimes, like in my business, if I don't hear from someone, it's easy to interpret it in many ways, right?
In a negative way,
right.
And like you're taking it personally.
Funny thing is, I'll hear back from them. This seemed to be happening to me in the past couple of weeks. So I think there was something to do with the eclipse that was saying for my sign, which is Leo, they said there were like delays in communication
Communication?
or whatever. Yeah.
Mhm.
And there were so many delays for me in business. I was waiting to hear about this, waiting to hear about that. And, in my mind, my imagination was working overtime a little bit, like,
See, your
oh,
ego. Yeah.
yeah.
Your
So,
insecure ego.
yeah. So then I was like, okay, stop thinking about stop thinking about it. If you can't think of a positive outcome, then just don't think about it. So I put a few things aside. And sure enough, I heard back from, those people. And it was not what I thought at all,
Exactly.
right?
Right.
So yeah, so that it's a similar type of thing. And I'm working on just not looking at everything from my perspective, having a broader perspective, and and anticipating positive outcomes, not anticipating negative outcomes. And
Yes.
yeah, so I'm feeling good about that. And yeah, for sure, it's work because we've had these habits of thinking for however many years, and it's not like you can just turn on a dime and get rid of
Yeah.
them, right?
Hmm.
But once they come to my awareness, that means okay. Um, it's for whatever reason it's come to my awareness, so I can now start to deal with it and work on it. Yeah, I'm curious what our listeners have to say about that.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.